friends and neighbors, welcome in the light, where laughter's the answer and hearts are shining bright, with calloused hands and wits, so raise your sharp. Let's praise a place where love ignites the spark.
Hello, friends and neighbors, and welcome to the Sunnyside of Life. Now, as I said last week, I was pretty excited because it's November now, and we're going to start something new that we haven't done before, and we're going to do. After 3 years of doing this show, we're going to add the dreaded video to some of the episodes starting next week, and that's a different. That'll be the first show where you'll be able to watch it on YouTube as well as listen to it on YouTube. And I just thought the absolute best way to end a particular audio-only format period would be with two guys that were instrumental in developing my love for audio theater of the mind, radio type podcasting. And so I was fortunate enough to be able to finally bring in the guy who first hired me off the farm, Tony Coloff, and the guy who was there with him from the beginning at that radio station, the sports director, Orin Harris, amongst many other things. So, gentlemen, welcome to Sunnyside.
Well, happy to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you. Happy to be here, yes.
So that first one was the voice of Orin Harris, because we're doing audio only. And the second one was Tony Coloff. And we're going to talk about a lot of things today, but starting with the passion for radio. When I started this podcast back in 2022, I guess, I think it was February of 22. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to be able to share stories, do interviews with people that had interesting walks of life. If you're like the best accountant, probably not going to have you on the show. But if you're the best accountant or just a regular accountant, but you also have a passion for some amazing hobby or something like that, I find that very interesting. And so that's what we've been doing, telling stories. And then, of course, I can't help, it is my own show, so occasionally I'll wander into, public conversations of other types as I see fit, and state politics and some of those other things. But that's the difference between a long form program like podcast versus radio, which is how I started when I was 16. And Tony, you hired me. Why'd you do that?
Why did we do that? Well, it was an entrepreneurial venture to do what we did with the FM radio station.
Yeah.
And we were looking for people that had the skills and could be trained, because we were in no position to hire anybody that was, let's say, a professional or that knew the business. So
yes,
I think it was the need, the absolute need to have to train someone, and you were there, and with the skills and to be able to fit in.
So when you did that back when I don't know how they do it now, but when I was hired, Dale Amon was the program director, and he had so you had to go in, you set an appointment, you had an interview that was pretty brief, and then just kind of gave you a bunch of copy to read cold and just record it, and then assume that he and maybe you or somebody else just listen to it and say, is this person going to be okay? And
we voice auditioned everybody, because not everybody has the voice skills, the communication skills to do it.
Good reading ability.
That's it.
That's important.
The reading ability in radio is, people don't realize it. It's
a prerequisite for success on the radio, is you got to be able to read.
Yeah. I mean, and read it. It's not always cold, but you're somebody like when we were doing storm broadcasts and you're running, back and forth to the AP machine and trying to get the latest info and whatever, you're reading that right off the wire.
Did you take speech classes in high school from your speech teacher?
Yeah, Scott Bertelson was my speech coach, and I never took any speech classes, but I was in the speech the team, the program, and that was funny because they had a radio program. I was a sophomore when I was 16, and my dad said, "You should." You should go find out what it's like to work for somebody else besides just here on the farm. And he didn't necessarily, I mean, maybe he meant it like get off the farm a little bit, but he also wanted, because believe me, that didn't stop me from having to work on the farm. I had to continue to work on the farm, which I'm glad I did. But he was like, go find out what it's like to work somewhere else for somebody else. And a lot of my friends were working, at like a restaurant or, in that capacity, food service of some type, whether it was Hardee's or whatever. And that was probably smarter as far as like they made money on tips and things like that. But it was way cooler to be on radio. And at the time, Jason Slater had been one of your hires and before me. So he was one of those part-time guys, the weekends, the night guys and stuff like that. And I thought, I bet I could do that. And so they had a program in speech where you could do radio speaking. And I was in that program, so I relied on my resume. I said I was an all-state radio speaker in speech. And I wasn't when I applied in February. But I was in March. So it was self-fulfilling. So it was sort of a lie. I mean, it would have been a lie if it didn't happen.
Right.
But it was a lie at the time that I included that in my resume. It became part of my resume that within a month or two. So
from all of that, you got everything you needed to qualify for, for the whole job, not just a part-time job, but you could do it all and learn from there. So,
and it's interesting you say you were in a radio speaking at contests. I worked at the radio station over in Laverne, Minnesota years ago when you were, long before you started here, and I judged radio speaking at state contest.
You did?
In fact, I came over to Lake Mills. They hosted the state speech contest one time, or district, whatever, and I judged radio speaking, which is pretty easy to judge. You'd listen to them and say, okay, you probably would be a good radio person or not. So you give them a 1 or a 2 or whatever. Yeah. But it's interesting. I did judge radio speaking. Like you say, you earned all state honors in that. And
yeah, I mean, Tim Fleming was one of my judges back in the day.
Yeah.
At the Mason City, they had Mohawks. They're now the Riverhawks, but back in the day they were the Mohawks, and they had hosted something like that. And Tim Fleming was one of the judges.
Speaking.
Yeah.
I also judged and did a lot of 4-H, had a program where they had radio speaking. I also did this.
Right.
So similar judges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I never did. I never got invited to do radio. Scott Bertelsen hired me for, this was several years ago. I was still in the National Guard, and he hired me as a speech coach to handle like the radio programs or the, now they actually have podcast program that they do in it as well, which I think is fine because podcasting is such a thing. However, podcasting is produced. And so the nice thing about the radio was it was really more like radio where you kind of just get the information. You got a certain amount of time to put that together, like maybe 15 minutes or something. And then you kind of go in and it's maybe not an entirely cold read, but you're supposed to include some news, some weather, a commercial, and you just have to put it all together. And then you read it in another room and they're listening to you. And that's how that worked. Now in podcasting, they come in and I've had a couple of teams come in here. So I'm not a coach anymore. I'll get back to that story, but they will come in here and they'll produce their show and I'll try to show them how to produce it. So like they do the recording part's easy. And then it's like, but then there's a time frame. So they have to meet the time frame and then there's editing involved. So it's more on the production side. And so then they're judging you more on your technical production as well as your delivery and your conversation. I don't know if it's a great you know, I don't know if it's as great at thing as speech as like the actual radio part of the contest, but I quit that job. I gave the money back. They paid me $800 as an assistant coach. I gave the money back to the fine arts patrons because they were so terrible. They got Division III. I was working with the athletes and they were so, it was like herding cats. I could never get them in. We were trying to do some video stuff. It was just ended up being, I didn't understand and I was like, I feel bad for them. I feel bad for the program. I shouldn't get paid for this. And then I never did it again. I gave them the money back because it was, yeah, I never judged and I coached once and I don't really consider that coaching.
I didn't realize they had a podcasting program out the school. That's good.
Well, it's speech. I mean, it's one of the categories in the speech competitions now. Yeah.
Okay.
So they've done that.
Great training. It
is.
And it's actually all you need. It's just topics after that. And conversation after that. But use of the voice.
Yeah.
That's what you learned.
Yeah, I did. And you always said, because you're 16 and you're trying to, I mean, it's cool to work at a radio station because back then it was, I mean, we'd be done at midnight. And so I'd work from like, I don't know, till midnight, from like 6 to midnight or something like that occasionally or whatever. And then you'd be done and we'd sign off. And then the next day, the real broadcasters would come in and do the morning show in the morning at 5 a.m. or whatever, Dale Amon and Mark Scar, those guys and all that other stuff. But it was such a unique job, and yet feeling cool didn't make you good at being a radio guy, because you had to actually be good at being a radio guy, and there was a skill set to that. And so there's a couple of things that Tony, that you said, and one was never wish yourself out of the studio, because the listener doesn't want to hear about how sunny it is out there and you wish you were out there. They want to hear you being sunny from the microphone, and they don't care what your wishes are. Don't make them miserable because you don't like where you're at. You can never be miserable. Right. So don't wish yourself out of the studio. I think that's great advice.
Yeah, or it's 95 degrees out there. I hope you're all hot, but I'm sitting in this nice air-conditioned studio. Yeah. I hated to hear that from any announcer.
Oh, yeah.
No relationship to what the listener was feeling.
That's right. Yeah. So the opposite of that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because you don't want to make the listeners feel bad by any means. And then you also don't wish yourself out of the studio. And then I can't think of the other one that was so important. Like you have to talk when you're talking on the radio. You have to act like you're talking to, like we're doing right now.
Yes.
Because that's the thing with radio, is like usually it's just one person in the studio and you're imagining. So that's another disconnect with podcasting. Unless I'm doing the show by myself, then I am just talking to the audience. But podcasters generally are doing an interview because it's a lot easier to have a conversation than to try to imagine that you're having a conversation with somebody you can't see.
Well, when you were program director, part of the radio station, and doing that type of work, I remember you putting together a sheet that said, "Here is your listener. Here is a picture of your listener. A 42-year-old mother of 2 children listening to the radio. Talk to her only." Yeah. And that guided the announcers on how to do exactly what you're talking about.
Thanks for remembering. Look, some of my ideas, I was a pretty young guy as a program director. I think it was like, early 20s, and was trying to make, things, better in my mind. And I just thought that was one of the things that was difficult for some people to imagine who you were actually talking to. So you just take the demographic studies that we had, what we knew about our listeners and our demographics, and say, okay, this is who you're talking to. And I think I cut pieces like out of a magazine and tried to put together like a compilation. So you had somebody you could actually look at and sound like you were talking to them. Yeah.
I remember that well, and it was a great training piece.
All right.
That's what that's what I tried to do doing ball games.
Right.
Did you run the boards for ball games?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I always tried to, I'm talking to some women or people sitting in their kitchen listening to the ball game, and I wanted to make them feel like they're really there.
Yes.
Just describing the action, and had a lot of people say that when you were broadcasting, we knew what was going on because you made it so clear in their minds. That, the description. That's what you got to do. No matter if you're talking on the radio, you need to let them know
everything
exactly. Yeah, what you're
seeing.
About.
Yeah. Well, you did a great job with that, Orin. I mean, you're the legendary voice of this area for decades, and it was just, smooth delivery, but also very. I mean, you knew all. I don't know how you can keep track of all of those athletes over the years, because every season's different. Football is probably the worst because there's 22 guys on the field, at a time,
and it's dark, and you can't put the numbers out there on their backs.
Baseball is probably or softball. I would say it probably would be. I won't say the easiest, but maybe the most relaxing because you can. There's a pace to the game, and you can.
Basketball was fun. Because, there's 10 guys out there.
Yeah.
And you just, I'd notice somebody have red hair, do they have a butch haircut, or do they wear glasses? That way you can associate that with their name, so you get their name right away.
Okay, so you use
pick something out from each.
Yeah.
Of course, the local kids you knew.
Yeah.
So you just learn those other 7 or 8 guys that play on the other team.
Yeah, I sometimes have an easier time remembering, for whatever reason, probably because I'm unfamiliar with the opposite team, that there's certain things I can remember. Like I might remember their name easier than I remember a jersey number for one of our own players. It's a local guy. And I don't do the radio for football or basketball or baseball, but I do the PA. And
good job at that too, by the way.
That's fun.
Make it entertaining.
Yeah.
Those officials are from all over the country. I don't understand that.
Right.
How do they come to Forest City and officiate?
That's right.
I don't get it.
Especially when it's like John Vries and Tony Dahl, and they're not even from, I say they're from somewhere else. Well, I think that was, Steve Kappas that might have started that nonsense back in the day. He would just say that they were
He did it for quite a while.
Random place, yeah. Before him, it was Benda. And you remember Mark Benda, the old business teacher, and he had a nice dark or deep voice, and then he would have a hot mic, and something terrible would happen. Probably when I was playing, actually. Now that I think we didn't have a great team back in the day, and he would go, "Oh boy."
You were probably holding or something in the offensive line there.
I'm sure I was. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, one thing I did like about Orin that kind of differentiated him from other sports broadcasters was that even we always carried the Forest City game because we were Forest City Station.
Yeah.
If they were having good games, bad seasons, what I liked about Orin was he'd always find something. He'd make the game interesting. Even if we were losing, having a bad season, he'd always find something positive to say about the player and some interesting information about it, and not focus on who is ahead, how far behind, and oh my goodness, we're going to lose this game.
Yeah.
We're 40 points behind. But he carried it all the way to the end. So you felt like you could listen to it and get something out of the game, even when it was not, we were losing.
Yeah. And you were fair. I mean, you were always pretty fair. Yeah. Because back in football, I mean, we were in conference, so those were all those KOW was the station that they were listening to anyway.
And from the other towns could listen.
Lake Mills, and now KOW is broadcasting games on a weekly basis, 3-4 different towns on 2 different stations, and so it's really grown. But I think that all came out of the fairness. It wasn't a doctrine, but you had a level of fairness in your sports broadcasting for so many years that people just came to expect it. They knew that it was a Forest City station and that we were the home team, but they never, I don't think they felt like you were broadcasting like it was we could get excited about the Indians being successful.
We got pretty excited a few times.
Yeah.
and now there's even video streaming of games.
Yeah.
And the radio is still carried as play-by-play on the video feed. The audio feed is the same. So, like, if you go to North Iowa now, you'll see all the different 7 or 8 schools that are being video streamed, all with audio that could be used on the radio if the radio station was available.
Right.
So KIW and they're full, but you can still have a feed, video, radio, audio that's not on the radio.
Yep.
Covering a school. So it's really progressed.
And it is different, isn't it, though? Because, like, if you watch the audio play-by-play is truly play-by-play. It's a different level of description and conversational, and, it may be even instruction. You don't want to make the listener feel dumb, so you have to keep them, like you were saying, keep them involved, who you were imagining you were talking to in the kitchen or whatever it happened to be. Whereas on television, the announcers, they comment on, because you see it, so it's much less.
They don't
on just TV,
right.
Yeah.
And I think that is annoying that they don't talk like the radio people do, because I get more from the radio audio broadcast than I do from the picture almost, because there's just more there in the description that you can't see almost.
Well, that's the beauty of audio in general, and that's why for the last 3 years we've done, I call theater of the mind. I'll do skits or produce things, and try to be funny or whatever. But people have to they have to be in on the joke by hearing it, and then they're imagining what they're hearing in their brain, which is way cheaper for me as a producer than trying to do a TV sketch where you have to have costumes on a set, and you have to even put, if you do a production. And so it's like radio production you could do. And last December, for example, on the 24th for Christmas Eve, we did a full 40-minute Christmas Eve play that involved, 10 cast members. And of course they all recorded at different days and times. And it had the full-on sound effects of just like the old-fashioned radio show. And it was a true effort of love on my part, because I stayed up all night. It was Christmas Eve, and I was walking into the house, I think at 6:30 in the morning, because I thought I thought I'll just wrap this up and be done by 10. And then I just kept adding like a scuff mark or on a shoe or a door or a knock or a creaking or the wind or back, it was.
So you put it all, you had all the elements, and then you put it all together, and it took all night to do it.
That was the only thing the podcast was, that particular. For Christmas Eve, it was a special show that we did. And,
wow.
And it was fun. And that I'd done stories up to that. Oh, yeah. That's the nice thing about podcasts is once they're out there forever.
Which number is it?
Oh, boy. it would have been, December 24th, 2024. Yeah, there you go. I can tell you the day it came out. Yeah, my goodness. So that was fun. Yeah. And I need to do more of that. And I will, that part will still stay audio, because we're, not every show, even for the listeners, I said, after this show, this is kind of the conclusion of audio only, which is all I've done. And now starting next week, we'll do, people can see the interview, or they can see me talking. I don't know why they want that, but that's the society that we live in now. But I still will not be able to do my skits. They'll have to stay in the audio format only, which I kind of like that. I just like putting it together and making people use their brain,
It's better to me, but
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, let's talk about, 1978. That's a very crucial date for KIOW and Pilot Knob Broadcasting, which was it always Coloff Media, or did it become Coloff Media? Started out as Pilot Knob?
Started out as Pilot Knob.
Yeah.
And named for area place.
Yeah. Pilot Knob.
Which is Pilot Knob State Park.
Yeah.
Okay. The company was named for that.
In 78, you... was it September or November? November of 1978?
November 8th.
November 8th, 1978. The station came alive on 102.3 with The Sound of Music.
Yes. The hills are alive.
Yes.
The sound of music.
And there's a story on that, but anyway, what the difference was we had both been in radio for a long time doing various things, but the difference was we were now in the radio business.
Yes.
We weren't in working at the radio station doing marketing, advertising, sports broadcasting, news reading, commercial writing and producing. We were now, the new station would encompass all of that, but now we were in business.
Yeah.
Now we had to figure out how we could generate enough revenue to keep this operation going. And when you were hired, we had no income coming in, or very little, and so we had to train our own people.
Well, I think you were doing better because I came in, and so 1990, I started in 1992, 91 or 90, maybe 91. So you'd been around for 13 years, I think. I remember the 15th anniversary I was there. I went to the Army. I came back, and it was the 20th anniversary. I remember that celebration. And that celebration for your 20th, I think you were, so what would that have, no, 1998. I just came back from the Army. And that summer, we did a promotion where, remember the gas prices? This is so crazy high. It was like $1.30. It was too much money. The gallon of gas went down to the co-op, and our production was, for our celebration, we would pay the difference between the co-op price but everybody was going to get it for 107.3.
Right, I remember that.
That was a great promotion, and people were lined up down the road to save that. Now it was gas like $4. You know, can you imagine?
I'm glad it looked good to the outside people, but internally we were tearing our hair out almost to find a way to increase revenue to get up to breaking even so we could continue this business. So I don't think the public was aware of, it took 10 years to really get up to a break-even point.
Was that right?
So, and Orin came to work at the station for whatever we could pay, which was
peanuts.
Was nothing. Why? We had no income.
Well, how did that
happen? We had to break even.
What was your relationship before you started KIOW?
Well, when I went to radio school at Brown Institute, my first job was at KRIB in Mason City when I got done.
Okay.
Tony was working there.
Okay. So you knew each other.
My second job in radio. My first job was at KSMN in Mason City.
Okay.
As a high school student.
Oh, yeah.
And then a college student. I went through NIAC and worked there weekends for 2.5 years.
Yeah. And did you came from Mason? You were Mason City?
Yes.
Kid, yeah. But you were out in western Iowa, weren't you? Yeah.
Plymouth County, Akron, Iowa, north of Sioux City.
Yeah.
That area.
So you went to Brown Institute. Mark Scar went there. A few of the guys in the early days, I feel like, was it just Mark, or did Dale go there, or was there...
Dale didn't...
No?
No, I don't think he went there.
Who was that other guy that was like the sales guy for a while? Bob? Was he
That was Bob's last name.
It wasn't Bob Dakin.
Yeah, Bob Dakin. Yeah.
Bob Dakin?
Was he a Brown guy too? I felt like there was a little collage of people. Maybe it was just you and Mark.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
He was a band guy, but he got into radio advertising and sales. Yes.
Yeah. And he had left just before, I don't know if he was there while I was there as a teenager, but then he left and went to Austin or something like that. But yeah. Those were, but it took a while. So you guys knew each other and you were, and then.
So then I went out to Rapid City to work at a radio station for a while, then came back, and a few years later, Tony or somebody must have called me and said, we have an opening up to Laverne. He was working in Laverne, Minnesota then.
Okay.
At KQ80 Laverne.
By then, I had worked at several other stations, and Paul Hedberg owned the Blue Earth radio station.
Okay.
And was putting on a radio station in Laverne, Minnesota, and drafted me to go over and do the programming part of the station.
Okay.
And so I was there, and we were looking for people to just build the staff so the station could become successful in Laverne, Minnesota. And Orin was...
I came up and worked at they had a Rock Rapids studio.
Yes.
It's a small town south of Laverne.
Yeah.
And so I became the Rock Rapids correspondent and did the sports from down there. And
What's the school in Rock Rapids? I feel like we played football out there a couple of years ago. I remember that. Yeah.
He did all the sports for Central Lyon.
Okay.
Football, basketball, and maybe more.
That's what we did there. We didn't do softball and baseball back in there.
Yeah.
We had a couple of state championships, which is kind of fun. And,
Yeah.
because they were very good. But
So we worked that around the Laverne football, basketball, and so we were able to do more sports on one station.
And sports became, so is that where you learned, would you say that's where you figured out that, one, how to kind of stand up a radio station, because you were kind of doing that, and personnel and just kind of getting things going in Laverne, but then you were also like, hey, sports is, I mean, that's a driver. I mean, that people, local economies support their
at every
sports.
station I ever knew.
Yeah.
And so, of course, that's a staple. That's kind of like the basic foundation of local radio.
Yeah.
what they would do is Laverne, understandably, would always they'd be live, and then I'd do Central Line, but I was tape delayed. They'd record it, and as soon as Laverne was done, high school game, they'd play Central Line. Tape delayed all the time. Sometimes people in Rock Rapids, why do we always have to be tape delayed? Well, Laverne is the main station.
Yeah.
We only had one station.
Only had one station, so somebody's got to be. But it worked out really well. We did quite well in Rock Rapids and the area with our broadcasts. And
Was that an AM or an FM station?
It was an AM, and then the FM complement came along about 8 months later after Mr. Hedberg got the AM on the air.
Yeah.
Then he worked on the FM, and that came on the air. Well, actually, we couldn't even do night.
I wasn't there. You've been on the air for several years before I got up there, I think. But
yeah. Well, okay, then this was all before you got there. But then the FM came along about 8 months later.
Yeah.
That's my recollection.
You were there
This was in 71 through 78 about. Before
Laverne,
Forest City.
Yeah, but you before that, when did you start? I mean, were you
At the Laverne station?
I mean, just in radio, even as a high school kid.
Well, before Laverne,
admit that.
before that, it was Minneapolis at a suburban station. Before that, it was Cedar Rapids at a top 40 rock and roll station. And before that, it was KRIB in Mason City. And before that, my start at KSMN, part-time weekends working in high school.
And that was that before FM? I mean, in general, I mean, there was some. Was there? When did the When did FM become like the big?
I would say during the 70s,
Okay.
and the later part of the 70s, but it really took off when the album-oriented rock format was developed.
Okay.
And it specifically fit FM stations. So then FM really kind of took off there and then developed into all sorts of variations, formats for AM and FM. So it just kept developing.
Yeah. It's. I mean, and so when you started in Forest City, how did you pick Forest City out of it? Neither one of you are from Forest City. I mean, you're close by Mason City, but I mean, what was the opportunity in Forest City?
In my case, it was close to grandpas and grandmas. By then we had 3 children.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to be close to grandpas and grandmas. And I was from Mason City, so we were 30 miles away. My wife was from Algona.
Okay. Right in the middle.
40 miles away. We were right in the middle, and we had a good position to have to live.
I mean, but so you got out your family and you're going to start a business. That's
in a small town
in
of
a small
4,200. A radio station in a town of 4,200 people.
Yeah.
It was
Quite an
unprecedented.
You started in the 70s, and you're just at the end of the oil crisis, or sort of in the midst of it. And Winnebago is the
It
big
came
driver.
about a year and a half or 2 years later.
Yeah.
And like Frank Rada used to say, when I asked him about how's Winnebago doing, he'd say, "We are hanging on by our fingernails."
Yeah.
When that oil crisis came along.
Oh yeah.
And we were kind of hanging on by our fingernails.
It's not like any vehicle in the
Also-
70s was an efficient model, and certainly not an RV.
No, not an RV.
Well, they corrected their problems and were able to get through the bad times and
Yeah.
built to what they have today.
Yeah.
But it's kind of the same for us.
Yeah.
Able to get through the bad times.
and it was, I mean, yeah, as a young station, how did you from the beginning? You were playing a variety of music. I mean, I don't think you weren't the best mix yet. That came later, but you always had a variety or a best variety format.
Well, think of this. What type of format would appeal to the most people in this small area?
Right.
Would it be country? You'd only appeal to country people.
Yeah.
Would it be rock and roll?
Yeah.
It'd only appeal to rock and roll. Would it be classic rock? Well, it'd only appeal to classic rock. So I searched and searched for an idea that would include all the people into a format.
Yeah.
And there was one in Washington, D.C. that just happened to also be on the frequency of 107.3.
Oh, really?
Yes. And that's where the jingle package came from, by the way, because I was able to pick out parts of that in a demo. But remember, we had no revenue, no income for about 10 years till we got to break-even point. And so that was a mix station.
Yeah.
It was Washington's mix, Washington, D.C.'s mix.
Really?
Yes. So that's where all that came from.
That's great. And I remember, so when I started there, we were just beginning the CD revolution, which now is itself long gone, and now everything's digital. But at the time, the compact disc, so the music format would be, we'd still use the singles, the 45.
45 are
1/3 popular music.
Yeah.
1/3 country music, and 1/3 oldies,
Yeah.
and mixed in a way that was pleasing to a, let's say, a rural farm audience.
Right.
And that included most of the people in the listening area,
And very
differentiated us from everybody
everybody else. Yeah.
narrow formatted station. So, and then along with the sports, I thought that would be the most that would be acceptable. That would gain listeners.
Yeah, because music, I mean, radio stations are advertising agencies at the end of the day. That's the business. But how do you get people to listen to your advertising agency? They've got to, music is how they do it. Like you have to, and also the other content. You provided the news, you provided the sports, you provided the weather, all of that.
Well, the mix was all of that.
Yeah.
Not just the music
Right.
mix, but the information mix.
Right.
And I've got to tell you, so my teenage job was a lot of, I mean, you kind of start on the least risky part of the week is the weekend. And so everybody's gone. You've got a 16-year-old on the controls, and we're playing, like, was it Dave? What was his name?
Dave Brubeck or
No, it was the classic countdown, a weekend classic gold. Dave, I think it was Dave something. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But he would. It was. So I have to say that as a 16-year-old in the early 90s, very early 90s, so 91, somewhere in there. There's I have an unnecessary amount of knowledge about. Is it Dave Bartlett? Was it Dave Bartlett? Is that not Dave?
Dick Bartlett.
Dick Bartley. Dave Bartlett.
think of it
Dave
till
Bartlett
just-
was a school board guy. Dick Bartley.
Dick
Yes,
Bartley.
not Dave. Dick Bartley. Yeah, and he. So I know more songs from the 50s and 60s, and because that was at the time that was the gold. That was the classic gold weekend was from the 50s and 60s. So as a teenager, I know these songs. Obscure stuff, so even today, because maybe not as much today, but I can listen and I can go, oh, they're using Green Onions from Booker T and the MGs as a music bed. Like, I won't say who does that, but we all know to Co-op. but I think I started that because it would grab that because I was like
Riley Lewis's favorite song, by the way.
and it's got the right, and it's I would never have known about Green Onions from 1962, I think, that was like, if I had not worked those weekends, or you're just listening to classic gold all weekend long.
The reason for that show was we didn't have any announcers that would sound like professional from
Right.
a big city. Well, here was a barter program that we could carry that had all the elements of a big city radio broadcast, but yet we could afford to get. It was barter. We gave them the airtime. They gave us
and
the
they got-
program.
Oh,
So
sure.
it was a barter arrangement that was common in those days. It still is a little bit today.
Because you must have done that then because for a while we had Casey Kasem.
Kasem.
And same deal. Rick Dees. I think you had Rick Dees.
Same.
Yeah. They were barred. That makes way more sense.
They were barred.
So,
They wanted
yeah.
the airtime for their commercials,
Yeah.
and we needed a program with a professional top 40 DJ from a big city.
Yeah.
So it worked.
I mean, Casey Kasem's long gone, but his delivery was, pretty amazing. Like he was the letters that would write in, and he would tell us.
Well,
he would
became a legend.
Yeah,
Became a
was
legend
very-
by doing that.
yeah. Oh, that yeah. I
One
forgot about
legendary
that.
disc jockey.
Yeah.
Casey Kasem.
Yeah, so that was a lot, and I'm thankful for it because it's nice to have that kind of rudimentary it's particularly now I do like country music but I'm kind of a older country music guy in my mind. I like the 80s and the 90s and some of the stuff from the 70s and anything by the Johnny Cash or the Highwaymen
kinda
or
guy.
any of the, yeah, for sure. So but all of that, so now you'll hear songs that we would play on the radio station, and then of course now it's mid 2020s, and some new country music artist will come up and they'll sing this song, and people will be like, "Isn't that the best song? Can you imagine? What is this amazing song?" Right? And I'm like, that was done in 1971. Like that's that's like the third remake of that song. You should hear the original, buddy.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Lots to talk about there.
Yeah. Well, so you had so copywriting was the other thing. And when people think copywriting was like, well, that must be what you do, when you write a book and then you get it copyrighted. But copywriting in radio means that you are writing the script for an ad. And Orin, you were there were notes around that said Orin one take Harris.
Yeah.
One take.
One take. Doing a commercial.
Yeah.
You had to get them on the air to get it done.
Yeah. And so the editing process, you recorded it to a reel-to-reel. Initially, I think it was a reel-to-reel, and then when people say cut and paste, they don't realize that is truly a cutting process where you would go back and
Splice it
together.
That's why he was one take, because didn't have to do any splicing.
That's what it was, wasn't it?
The first time through.
Get it done right the first time.
That's right. Yeah, and so that was my aspiring goal. I was like, well, if Orin's one take, I'm going to do it in one take. And that took a long time to get where I feel like, oh, I can do this in one take. It wasn't like you just roll in and sound good the first time,
And it didn't happen every time, but it was quite a bit of the time.
But because of that experience, and you guys have got to have way better ears for it. I mean, when you listen to radio, you can pick apart anything that is not right.
Yeah. Tend to do that occasionally.
Yeah.
to my detriment, because I get to look like a complainer, but you pick apart, you do.
Yeah.
You just pick apart what's wrong with this this person, this radio station, this sound, this record, you can see where the mistakes are, and I guess you become a complainer and say, why don't they fix this?
Yeah, volume's not right. Different. Or actually in production, in copywriting, as a production director, I hated the term "for all your fill in the blank needs." I still hate that, and I still hear it on at radio stations, anywhere. It's all over, whether it's satellite or pod. I mean, it's like, who. I know what it means, there's got to be let's find a different way to say it. At least a little variety in it.
One of our sales trainers provided a big chart, and in it said, here's the 100 cliches in radio you never want to use. And one of them was what you just said.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we would train on that. We'd say, don't use this in your copy.
They still use
This is a cliche. Get rid of the cliches. And his thing was put real, truthful, honest information in your ad that has a chance to get people interested in the product you're selling and sell the product.
Yeah.
Don't cliche it.
And it has to be enough to a good commercial. It has to catch your attention.
Right.
One thing that you try to do is not use the same voice for every ad, because people, if you have 4 ads running back to back, it sounds like this. If it's the same person doing the speaking, you kind of tune it out. So you want to have variety there.
You got it.
And you got to have sometimes humor helps. It's not always the solution, but you can try to do some humorous things. But commercials today drive me nuts, particularly the TV commercials. I have no idea what they're advertising half the time. That drives me nuts.
That's true.
You've noticed that.
Yeah. I don't know what they're advertising,
Yeah. Right. So, you don't know.
Yeah. And it seems like the corollary for so everything is digitized now, and it's a different kind of media world that we live in. But the ads are it's still an advertising agency at the end of the day. They're still selling something. Like they're getting paid to sell a product and make people aware of a service or whatever it happens to be. So if you're watching YouTube and it just you don't have any say. It's not even like the old TV shows where and there's an end to this scene and now you go to a commercial break. Now it's in the middle of whatever's happening and they'll be there. That would be the equivalent on radio. Can you imagine if we interrupted a song that was in the midst of playing a song and we just go, for all your cooperative needs, and wouldn't that be, and they don't care.
No, they just cut right into the middle of it,
So there's an elegance to radio that I've always appreciated. And because the time you're selling the time, it's so valuable. Your minutes and your half minutes and quarter minutes and all of these things, and your hours are based on, at least at KOW, they were based on a quarter hour cycle where every 15 minutes there'd be probably a break. There's maybe weather, there's maybe something, there's ads or whatever, and then you're back into music depending on what time of day it was. But it always seemed to be like a quarter hour system. That, by the way, is about how long we figured was the average listener was in that 15 to 20 minute listening anyway, if they're driving or when they're listening to the radio. And that's why you hear songs. If you're listening to the same station all day long, that's why you'll frequently hear like a top 40. You'll hear the same songs frequently because it's based on that quarter hour.
I think back then it was like a 2-hour span of listenership. It's kind of gone down a little bit, but back then it was like top 40 radio was based on a 2-hour listenership. So you'd have 40 records that would rotate on a 3-hour.
That's right.
3-hour rotation.
Okay.
And so there was a lot of studies on how to make it retain your audience and with the record rotation so that they wouldn't leave before their time or to keep people listening.
Yeah.
The rotation of the records was an important factor in that.
The one time that you never have to worry about the listeners not paying attention is during severe weather.
Right. Exactly.
They are, if they're in their basement, they've got their radio, their battery powered radio, and they are listening to find out what's going on.
We pushed that heavy back then when we started because most of the listening was AM listening, but FM listening was static free.
Mm-hmm.
And so our competition was mostly on AM at that time. And so we really pushed the weather coverage pretty heavy, and it actually worked because KIOW became the station that Mason City listened to for weather coverage that was going to come their way in about a half hour.
Oh, yeah.
And they could pick us up better because the static on AM was so bad during electrical storms that it actually boosted our listenership.
Now, when you need it, I didn't know that. So, yeah, the
yes.
AM model, when it was, because of the AM is a longer wave, is that right? Or is it, do I have that backwards?
I don't know the technical
okay.
characteristics. Was more static on AM during electrical storms, no static on FM during electrical storms.
Yeah.
That's all I knew, and I thought we need to use this to advantage, so we pushed this pretty hard, and pretty soon we got to be, that was our reputation.
Yeah.
For weather coverage, tuned to 107.3.
There's good memory. I mean, I don't know if they're good memories, but there are some memories of those severe weather moments. You know, as I said, as a teenager out there at the station by myself, and then the severe weather's rolling in. And Tony, you're in town because the station that I worked in was out in the country. You guys had gotten, and I don't know when that happened, because you didn't start out there, did you? In the country, you started in the country.
Oh yes,
that spot.
Okay, in that spot. So yeah, so it was a couple miles outside of town. So you're a bit a ways, and then I mean, I think you must have been listening to the radio all the time. It must have always been on, because you thought, here's this teenager struggling, and there's severe weather coming. So you're out there in a heartbeat.
Well, we had to train. We had to train our people. We didn't have people who knew how to do it, and I hardly knew how to do it.
Yeah.
So we were kind of inventing things, but
that is a funny memory, because people don't now. At your new station, digs are uptown on Clark Street in Forest City. Very nice. A couple of studios there, and facing the street and all that. But when you're out in the country, like you're just kind of out by yourself there, and whether it was a blizzard. I mean, how many times has some of the guys like Mark or whatever, they've stayed there because they know the blizzard's coming and he's got to be there at 5 o'clock in the morning to open up, and it's just going to be easier to just stay. And people don't, I think I've stayed out just because, like you can't get out or whatever. So you have to wait for the plows to come and clear that road and all of that. But it's a funny memory, because people don't realize there is a theater aspect to radio, and whether it's your delivery and your tone or however it happens, but there's also a theater, like people want to know. And in the old radio station, it was funny because when you would come out and we would work together on, say, like severe weather, tornado was coming through, and we would be one person. There's trying to keep people up to date on what's happening, where things are at. You're using radar at that time and all these different things. And
we didn't have computers or much radar either.
When I came back so in 1998, you did, and so we could look at the radar and we could say that. But so we'd be looking at that, and then and Tony would be out, and then he'd be still pulling stuff off of the AP wire. So the most up to date, and it was constant. And the doors would be open, and that's about the only time that you'd know that there was even anything else going on at the radio station, because you'd hear that and it was in the back, doors opening and closing, people coming, and it's like, and then you would rush in with a stack of stuff that you'd quickly perused and just sort of edited and determined this is what we're going to come in. So then you'd come and sit down right either at the end of the table at that time, or sometimes it'd be in the next room over, which had just a big glass where we could see, we were separated only by glass, right? Studio B or whatever. But he would say, and then he would turn it over to you, and then he'd go, this is Tony Coloff from the KIOW severe weather
room. The weather room. and the
same room.
The hail would be pounding off the windows, and people would tell me, "Oh my goodness, I thought the windows were going to break. I heard of what happened? Were the hail really hitting the windows?" Yes, that wasn't a joke. That wasn't a play.
That building didn't have a basement. Like, you're not going. Like, you have nowhere to go. I mean, it was kind of built into a hill, so you did have that going for you.
Did have protection there.
Yeah, but that was something.
You're right. That was crazy.
The scariest thing, I think, in radio is dead air.
You got that right. I do not like dead air.
No. It's hard to, that's, even listening now, that's the number one thing that I don't work in radio, but I get anxious listening to it in any circumstance. If there's a moment where
there's dead air. In fact, we were talking about that on the way out here this afternoon, Troy, about an incident of dead air. Remember, we were talking about.
Oh,
Let's tell them
yes.
about that when Troy
You
had.
want to say that?
Oh yeah.
You know more about than I do.
We were in training sessions with you, and it was a Saturday afternoon, and it was at 10 after 5 in the afternoon, and I actually was in the shower listening to you do the news.
Okay.
All of a sudden, at 5:10, it went blank. It was dead air for about 5 minutes, and I quickly got dressed, ran out to the radio station, and you were sitting at the control board, kind of frozen. And I shut off the mic and I said, "Troy, what's wrong?" I thought you were having a heart attack or something. But you said, I don't know. And I said, well, here's what we're going to do. I got the mic off. Let's get something on the air and figure out how to recover the news so we get the rest of the news on.
Yes.
And so there was probably a period of about 10 or 15 minutes of dead air there.
Yeah.
And that was probably probably your first time alone
Yeah.
in the control room. So
I do remember
that was
you.
just to me, it was part of the training session, but to you, it was probably a very
Traumatic.
traumatic
It was.
moment.
I would say to a certain degree terrifying because your boss comes out, the owner of the station, his hair is wet. You can see he just came out of it. It's like, what? And you know you're screwed up. I don't know how to fix it. I don't have the answer in front of me. Yeah, I do
T-shirt's
recall
on
that.
backwards.
You do recall that? Well, I think it was a terrifying moment for you and me.
Yeah.
Because, we had to figure out what to do.
Yeah, because you can, they'll leave. The audience leaves. They do not wait around.
They'll turn it on.
Yeah. The phone will start ringing too.
Yes.
Well, maybe not in 10 minutes, but eventually, yes,
Yeah.
it will start
You
ringing.
got to get them back. Yeah, so that's the fear. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
we did say that.
We were talking about that.
We had talked about training people when we were early on, when we drove out here today,
Yeah.
and that came to mind.
Well, now I do have some memories too. Like when you asked if we did, if I worked the board for your broadcasts in sports.
Right.
And I did, Orin, because you. Now it's everything cellular or digital, and it's over. It's pretty slick, and I'd say it works pretty well. Pretty consistently. You either did a phone line back in the day, or we did a Marty. And the Marty was like its own little antenna. And what was the range on the Marty? Like how like you're broadcasting to a receiver at the radio station, and then
Yes.
that's going over the air.
Actually, the antenna was on the receive antenna was on the tower about 100 feet up.
Okay.
So we had good range on that for about 15 miles, or depending upon the transmit antenna.
Yeah.
So it was like a little radio transmitter back to the radio station.
And you could get it. So if Lake Mills, you could use it from Lake Mills, I suppose, if
There
you
were
wanted
places
to.
we could use it.
Yeah.
And there were
Lake
other
Mills,
places we couldn't use it.
Garner was sometimes it was kind of difficult when he got in other people's buildings and stuff like that. But we tried from Buffalo Center. I remember that was quite a ways. That was close to Otis, Buffalo, so 25 miles.
It is. It's almost 30, yeah.
30 miles.
Yeah.
It was touch and go there.
The reason we used it was toll free from a telephone
Yes.
installation, and the quality was broadcast quality,
Yeah.
better than a telephone line. So we like to use the Marty
Yeah. Today,
if we could.
Yeah, today you can't even tell because you used to be able to. Remember when you would even do advertisements, or you try to do a sound effect of what does it sound like if somebody's on the phone? I'm talking to somebody on the phone, and there was like a hollow echo or something like that, and that's how you make it sound like somebody's on the phone. People today wouldn't even understand what you were doing. It's like telling your kids to roll down the window. They don't even know that's a thing you had to do.
Right.
So the sound of the telephone, someone on a telephone is an ancient sound effect.
Yes.
But it definitely was real because you sounded different on a telephone line. Right. There was a little buzz, or there was something it was carrying or whatever. And now, the Marty was better. The downside to the Marty on the receiving end was that if you were on a phone line and there was a problem, I could pick up the phone and say, Orin,
Right.
there's a problem. We could talk. Marty,
One way.
the only way you can communicate with the Marty, because he's one way, and you would have to do, all right, give me a cut, give me 2 cuts on the radio. So you'd have to like cut these broadcasts, and it'd be like a song would be playing, and then all of a sudden, zip, and then saw it in the bag, and then you'd be like, okay, that's good. So you would be on the monitor speaker, which was under the broadcast desk in the control room, and that's where you would come from. And so I would just put you on, pot you down when we went to break. You were listening to it you'd have your radio and you would listen to it on the radio, so you knew when to come back in. And then, but you had no way to communicate with me unless I had to cut or something, because I couldn't call you and pick up the phone, that type of thing.
Those were the days.
We've come a long way. Come a long way since that time for technical quality.
For me, it was the best because I also got to hear Orin talking when he's not broadcasting at these games and whatever. And so because you'd be on the monitor and be waiting for the ads to get done playing before you came back on or whatever. And so as soon as you were off, you would be like, hey, that's right. Yeah, you want to give me some popcorn? Yeah. Hi, Bill. How you doing? That's what I was just talking about, whatever.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And sometimes at that moment, you might let your opinion about the officiating crew come out, but it would never be on the air.
Never on the air.
It would be. So that was fun. I loved listening to that.
The best way to comment on that was that, boy, the fans didn't like that call.
That's right.
Really, it was me or Tim Fleming or somebody, didn't like the way that call was made. But
that was fun stuff.
Well, the fans would let you know if they didn't like the call.
Oh, they would.
So you can kind of sense that just.
Oh, you could tell it in the gym, without a doubt.
So there's people that listen to podcasts like this all over the world, and that's the fun part about the reach. Like you can, for whatever reason, there are people that listen to this in I don't know why, Finland. You would think they don't even, but they do. Thanks, Finland, for listening, and Ireland. That's kind of fun in different places. But I think they may not be familiar with some of these, parts of the radio business or how things actually work. So now the range, and because of the internet, is worldwide, and of course, the KOW, the radio, all the radio stations, they're all on the internet now, and everything is live streaming. And as far as listening, you can listen through the computer, and so that really changes the scope. Whereas before, you were really married to the power of your antenna, to be able to push out the watts that you had. When you started as 102.3, what was the wattage? Was it 25?
3,000.
3,000.
3,000.
Okay. And then
1990, we were allowed to increase power to 6,000 watts.
Okay.
And then the FCC was allowing stations to look for improving their facilities. So we found a way to, in 1993, to go up to be a 25,000 watt.
There you go,
station.
yeah.
So it was technology improving.
I remember that because I was working, now at that time I would be in college, and I was working for you as well. So from 16 till I was 20 years old, I worked part-time in different ways. So in 93, I remember when you went to the 25, and then, but when you you're at 50 now, isn't it? Or is it always been 25?
Yes.
Okay. So I thought so that was a huge.
That was a big jump.
That was a big jump because I don't know what 3,000 gets you, but 25, it seemed like all of a sudden, like you're 50 miles, 60 miles, 70 miles away.
And the reason that we couldn't start with that was several reasons, but mostly money.
Yeah.
And how much money did we need to build this radio station? And so it was cheaper to build a 3,000 watt station than to have a larger transmitter and a higher power. And so we were happy to be able to do that because it was reinvestment into the broadcast facilities, so we could cover more ground and actually serve the listener better over a wider area, more listeners better.
So one thing you mentioned, the FCC. When I was 16, this is no longer something that people have to do, but you used to have a license. You had to apply for a license as a broadcast. So like to be an on-air, you had to get a license from the FCC so that you could talk on the radio.
But, that was a training thing for the FCC for people getting into broadcasting, was that third-class radio telephone license. You had a 20-question test, and you learned the basics of taking readings,
Yeah.
maintaining the transmitter.
That's right.
And also things about what to say and not to say on the air.
Yeah.
And it was a training thing. Well, then you could advance to the second class radio telephone, which was a 50-question test and had more of the same, but a lot of more technical things. And then you could advance to the first class radio telephone. That was a 100-question test, and you got into written answers for technical questions. So they are actually training you to be an engineer to keep the radio station sounding good on the air for the program.
I was never better than a third-class broadcaster. I can tell you, but I think that Zarin must have found it or something, because he, or maybe Carl, but one of those guys, was still out there. My license was still out there, and they did. I have it. I have it in my collection of memorabilia that I have. I was truly a licensed broadcaster from back in the day, which is
you were.
Yeah.
And it didn't exactly refer to how good of a broadcaster you were. It was that you had the basics to operate in the control room.
Gave you permission.
That's right. That's right.
And made it legal to operate the station.
Small town radio stuff that you do that is unique, and they probably, you don't see this in, like the huge markets, L.A. and, New York and whatnot. They're not doing funeral notices on the big stations. You've always done that, and I think that's very unique. When I was, a teenager, I'm like, ugh, what are we doing here? But it's important that's how people found out. It's a news source. And I never, Tony, you remember, you're like, listen, and you didn't say it that way. You're like, you were very patient with me, but you'd be like, your delivery is good on your news, but you need to not sound so bright and cheery when you read the obituaries. Which makes sense. I should have known better. It
has to be viewed as being received as the listener.
Yes.
And there's feelings that you don't want to hurt. So your voice needs to reflect the proper communication style.
It had to be even. It should be even keeled in that regard. You're just providing the information without you don't want to be bright and cheery, but you also don't want to suddenly switch from the Hancock County News and go directly, and now for today's one. Ooh, that would be too much. So
yes.
Yeah. And you did the birthday show. You still do the birthday show, and that's something that's always happened in the morning.
It was always fun.
And
there's a fine arts complement to what you're talking about here. Fine arts. How do we make it sound appropriate for the audience?
Yeah, without
going too far one way or the other.
Yes.
I was on the birthday show with Dale Amon for quite a while. I just went.
Yes.
I'd sit in the other studio and
and that was great.
Through the window and
great stuff.
Do the birthday show and sing the song when it was going, and make it kind of fun. And
make it fun.
That for a long time.
Yeah, I love that.
He decided to go do something else.
Yeah, and people go on. I went on to do other things too. I wanted to learn how to sell, is what because I realized that in radio, and Orin, you were not just a sports guy. You were sold.
Sold advertising.
You sold advertising.
Did very well.
And lots of, and so I looked at the next opportunity. It was like I want to learn how to sell. I'd done production and then program, and I was like, man, I want to learn how to sell. I like being on the air in the afternoon, but it was fun. But it wasn't my time. So then I did go on, and I had sent out resumes with my,
Sure.
I mentioned that I was class 3 level, broadcaster. Sent out resumes but then I went to the cities, and there were some life-changing things that were happening at that time. So I became a salesman in a completely different industry. I just wanted to learn how to sell and work on commission and that type of stuff. And I did that for 3 years, and a 100% commission job, which was like, if you can make it 3 years, you probably are going to be okay. The first 6 months are really hard. not great necessarily for your credit, I'll tell you that, if you're not very good at it. So I learned how to do that. But then it's funny is that my mail was not caught up to me. And it was still coming to Forest City. And so then I would get a bag, I get like a grocery bag of mail. And by this point, I'm like almost into a doing well in sales. Like I've succeeded. I'm making money, and I can figure it out. I'm selling home improvement, siding and windows and roofs and improvement, and learning kind of the construction industry, which was completely different but fun. And then I got one of these. Right, it was like in this bag of mail was a response from a radio station in Kansas City, and I was like, too late now. I'm doing this thing and learn. And so my radio career ended, I think, at my own discretion back in whenever that was, 2003 or whatever. 2001, right in that time. Turn of the century.
Turn of the century.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, but it was really. I mean, I've come back and we've done different things and get to still be out, and I still listen to radio like I have some production mind for it and all of that. But you guys have got to have we've got to come up with some stories here to wrap this show up, because this many years, decades in radio. I mean, you said you had lots of fun on the birthday show. Some funny things that can be shared that are that are relative to the radio in that experience, whether starting out in the late 70s, early 80s, or I don't know.
I don't know if I have any particularly funny story to. There's so many exciting events for me at sports.
Yeah.
There were just so many different ones. Probably being behind Humboldt in the district final basketball game at home by 7 points with 45 seconds to play, and winning the game on the last second shot by Nate Ludwig. We scored.
That's right.
We won the game in the last second after coming from 7 down with 45 seconds to play. One of the big highlights of many, during the sportscasting career anyway. There's so many things.
Well, there has to be. I mean, that many. I mean, decades of just it's following the hometown team and all of that. That would have to. I mean, the Tate's senior year, our oldest boy's senior year, I had. No, didn't do it for any of the other boys, so I don't know what that tells you. But I had the awareness to say, hey, Carl. Will you record the broadcast of all of these football games for me? And so he did. So for that 2012 season, I've got your broadcast of the 2012 season for all of that. Yeah. Well, I got to find them.
Where's the pay for that?
Because there was really one game it still makes me the happiest dad. Right. And that was when we beat Clear Lake.
Clear Lake.
That was great. And I made an audio version, like just a best of that one game with set to music, and we listened to it as a family. Now I'm going to be a grandpa here in the February time frame because of Tate and his wonderful wife Miranda, my daughter-in-law. They're going to have a baby. Sounds like it's going to be a baby boy, and so I can't wait to play that. Say this is your listen to this. This is what your dad did. That's how he got the name Tate the Great.
He takes the snap, rolls right, cuts it back inside, and then he's going to lose back to the 10-yard line. No, he breaks away and goes in for the touchdown. Tate Thompson breaks free of the tackle and goes in for the touchdown. Oh my goodness, Tate Thompson, what a run by the senior quarterback. And the Indians jump out to a 31-17 lead as Tate Thompson was hit by 2 or 3 guys, spun out of their grasp, and takes it in for the touchdown. Just have to run out the clock. Tate Thompson takes the knee, has to do it one more time, and Forest City's going to get the victory. The team shaking hands, the Lions patting the Indians on the back. They know it's been a long, frustrating time for Forest City. They didn't want to be the team that broke that regular season winning streak, but it's going to come to an end here tonight, and Forest City going to beat the Lions 32-17.
I mean, it was all from that
tremendous performance.
Tremendous.
Very special, and for a lot of people too. I mean, a lot of you were at the Hall of Fame for this year for the bringing in the Athletic Hall of Fame for Forest City. I mean, there's just generations of players of all sports that have, had your name.
It's been a fun event that they've gotten started there.
Yeah.
Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Athletic Hall of Fame. Yeah.
Yeah. And Tony, you were on the morning show forever. I mean, you felt like you were in the birthday show, or it wasn't the birthday show. It was, you would do like repartee before the news.
Yes.
The news.
Yes.
Yes.
We just wanted to try to continue to build audience, and so we were reflecting back a lot of Norwegian humor and anything we could pick up and find that would put a smile on people's face. And
that's right.
And I wasn't your best comedian, but that's what we were trying to do at the time with that.
Yes.
I'll never forget.
You did. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'll never forget when the station went on the air, November 8th of 78.
Yeah.
My wife and I got up early because we came on the air at 6 a.m., I believe it was, on that, and just to hear the station come on the air for the very first time.
Yeah.
With Tony Coloff and the Hills Are Live with the Sound of Music. But you know what we always signed off with at night at midnight?
Bum-ba-did-it. No, the national anthem.
No, wasn't it Jimmy Durante singing Good Night?
Oh,
Good night.
Yeah,
Good night.
Jimmy
Good
Durante.
night, Jimmy Durante.
Yeah, we signed off.
And you signed out. That's what.
Now they don't even sign off anymore.
Then it's on all the time.
It's on all the time.
But there was a sign when I was there. The sign off was that Happy Trails. Bum-ba-did-it, bum-ba-did-it, bum. Yeah, and there they say Happy Trails. But then the national anthem was in there somewhere. Did we play that before or at the end of the day and at the beginning of the day?
I think at the.
I don't remember.
I don't remember. Maybe it was. I don't remember. Probably both. At one time, maybe at the end. At one time,
Yeah.
it may be at the start.
Those things are gone. You don't. It's like just like the color pattern on the TV when they would go off the air. TV never goes off the air. They never know.
I'm trying to think of when. There's about 10 things in there, but the one thing you asked for an outstanding moment.
Yeah.
That's it was 1979, and we were covering weather, and it was severe weather, and I was. You mentioned the AP and that. We also had a AP to get weather information from. We also had a police scanner.
1021 at 24 Main Street.
And the city employees and the police, fire department, and the highway patrol would go out to certain points and spot weather spotters.
Yeah.
So I would take their reports that would come in on the scanner and use those immediately on the air because it was the fastest way to alert when a tornado funnel was seen. Well, one night in 1979, it was about in August. This was just after we started. We didn't have any technology to find out these things about tornadoes coming. But one night I was covering the weather and putting out warning information as much as I had when a highway patrolman in Burt said this over the scanner. I'm in Burt, and there are huge chunks of ice falling out of the air. There is huge turbulence up there, and be forewarned, there's got to be a funnel around here somewhere. So take cover. And I got that information. I put that on the air and said, huge chunks of ice coming down. There's got to be a funnel somewhere. And a little while later, my father-in-law lived at Algona. They were looking out their window. This is 2 miles north of Algona, which was like 50 miles away from the radio station and 40 miles away. They said, we are watching a tornado funnel go across our farm field about a mile away from our farmhouse, heading directly toward Algona. So I put that on the air. That was the night that the tornado hit Algona, and 150 homes were totally destroyed in Algona. I don't think they had any loss of life, but that was the worst tornado damage that I can remember of any place in our area that had that much damage from that tornado that highway patrolman warned about, with ice chunks falling out of the sky at Burt, Iowa. And so that's kind of an example of the weather coverage that we could do without any technology. And that just stands out in my mind as saying, this is how FM is supposed to be working, because we're cutting through all the static and actually warning people to take cover from danger. And
that was interesting. Yeah.
And we'd only been on the air for like
Less than a year.
Yeah.
And so that was just at the beginning of it all.
That's amazing. That's fantastic.
It's amazing.
That's great. I mean,
It amazed me at the time. I thought, oh my God, we're actually getting this information out to warn people. Oh,
that's what it's all about. Being able to get that information across and share it with people, and good news, bad news, fun music. It's an emotional relationship to whatever you hear, because it makes you have to imagine what you're hearing, and put it into context. So I just really appreciated it, and it's the perfect. You got anything you want to?
No, I think that's probably enough for me.
Yeah,
it's enough for me.
All right.
Pleasure being with you. That's for sure.
Yes, this has been great. Thank you.
Well, you have in your decades of radio experience, as we always say, what we try to do is go out and be the sunny side of someone else's life. And I mean, whether it's whatever, the weather, the news, the sports, the memories, the music, all of those things, certainly a big part of my life. My appreciation for radio and audio production all came from my experience with KIOW, certainly with you two, and all of the folks that I had the opportunity to work with. It never left me, and so you guys have been the sunny side of many people's lives and their ears.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
When the shadows fall and doubts begin to creep, remember, together we're strong, never weak. Lift your neighbor up with kindness every day. Let your actions speak the words you want to say.
The Sunny Side of Life is a weekly production about our life on the family farmstead here in Iowa, the liberties we prize, and the pursuits which make us happy. None of this is possible, of course, without Christ in our lives. For the Lord God is our sun and our shield. He gives us grace and glory.
Be the sunny side of someone else's life. Share your light and joy through struggle and strife. Keep your heart open and your soul always bright. Together we will share this sunny side life. Be the sunny side of someone else's life. Share your light and joy through struggle and strife. Keep your heart open and your soul always bright. Together we will share this sunny side life.
May the Lord bless you and keep you, and may the sunny side of your life in Christ be made evident unto you each and every day, and give you peace.